Hello and welcome. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most common yet surprisingly mysterious things we all do. I mean, it's an involuntary reflex you've probably already done today, maybe even a few times. We are, of course, talking about the yawn.
You know, for centuries, we've just kind of chalked it up to being tired or bored. But is that really the whole story? As it turns out, this simple, everyday act is actually a fascinating window into our physiology, our social connections, and yeah, even our health. And hey, here's a fun little fact to kick things off. Research shows that even just reading, hearing, or thinking about yawning is enough to trigger one. So if you feel that urge coming on over the next few minutes, go with it. Don't fight it. You're just proving the science right. Okay, so first things first. Let's tackle the biggest and most persistent idea about yawning head on. Is it really just about grabbing some more air for our lungs?
For the longest time, this was the go-to explanation. It's called the respiratory hypothesis, and you can see why it caught on, right? It just makes sense. You feel a little sluggish, you take a big deep yawn, and bam, you get a nice boost of oxygen. It's simple, it's logical.
There's just one tiny problem. It's completely wrong. Yeah, science has pretty definitively debunked this one. Controlled studies have shown that giving people extra oxygen doesn't make them yawn less, and giving them more carbon dioxide doesn't make them yawn more. The connection just isn't there. And if you need the final nail in the coffin for the oxygen theory, here it is. Fetuses yawn. In the womb. They do it as early as the first trimester, but think about it. They aren't breathing air. They get all their oxygen from their mother through the umbilical cord. So their yawning can't possibly have anything to do with topping up oxygen in their lungs. So, if it's not about oxygen, what in the world is the leading physiological reason for a yawn? Well, scientists now believe it's less like taking a deep breath and a whole lot more like using a radiator.
This is what's known as the thermoregulation hypothesis, and it's really the front-runner theory today. The basic idea is that our brains, kind of like computers, work best in a very specific temperature range. When they start to overheat, whether that's from being tired, stressed, or even just sitting in a warm room, the body has this incredible built-in cooling system, the yawn.
So how does this actually work? Well, first, as your brain heats up, a tiny region called the hypothalamus gets the signal and triggers that yawn reflex. Then, that huge, deep inhale brings a rush of cooler air into your sinuses. And at the exact same time, that massive stretch of your jaw muscles acts like a pump, dramatically increasing blood flow to your head. This whole process helps flush out the warmer blood and replace it with cooler blood, which effectively brings your brain's temperature back down. Pretty clever, huh? And the complexity behind this seemingly simple reflex is just fascinating. You've got the hypothalamus acting as the command center, using chemicals like dopamine and oxytocin to kick the whole thing off. Then the brainstem takes over, executing all the complex muscle movements. It's actually a highly coordinated neurological event. But, you know, physiology is only half the story. The yawn has this amazing social life, which, if you've already yawned watching this, you've definitely experienced firsthand. So it's really important to understand that there are actually two very different kinds of yawns. First, you've got spontaneous yawning. That's the physiological one we've been talking about. It's a primitive reflex that's found in most vertebrates, from fish to birds to us. But then you have contagious yawning, and that's a whole different ballgame. It's a more recently evolved behavior, and it's only found in highly social species. It doesn't even show up in humans until we're about 4 years old. So why on earth does seeing someone else yawn make us do it too? Well, the leading theory is that it's a very primitive, totally unconscious form of empathy. It's an involuntary way of mirroring someone else and connecting with their state of mind. It's all about social bonding. And the data on this is just beautiful. Studies on both us humans and on other primates like chimps and baboons show this incredibly clear pattern. As you can see here, you are way more likely to catch a yawn from a close family member than you are from a friend. And you're least likely of all to catch one from a total stranger. So the takeaway here is huge. It's not about how close you are sitting to someone, it's about how close you feel to them. This idea of emotional proximity is the absolute strongest predictor of whether you'll catch a yawn, which really suggests it's a measure of our social and emotional connection to other people. Okay, so let's switch gears and look at a completely different side of this. Because while yawning is usually totally harmless, sometimes it can be more than just a reflex. It can actually be a vital clue about our underlying health. So, what counts as excessive? I mean, we all have days where we yawn a lot,
But clinically, the threshold for excessive yawning is defined as more than 3 yawns in a 15-minute period, especially when there isn't an obvious reason, like you just pulled an all-nighter.
And this can be a really significant symptom. For people with certain conditions like multiple sclerosis or even sleep disorders like sleep apnea, excessive yawning can be an important and often overlooked early warning sign that something is going on with the body's neurological or temperature regulating systems. There is actually a developing theory called the Thompson cortisol hypothesis that links this directly to stress. It suggests that when levels of the stress hormone cortisol rise, it can cause an increase in brain temperature. The body then tries to cool the brain down by triggering a yawn. This could explain why people with fatiguing conditions like MS, who might have trouble regulating cortisol, experience so much yawning as their bodies try to compensate. So, as we've seen, this simple, everyday reflex is anything but simple. It's a sophisticated biological thermostat, it's a subtle social signal that helps reinforce our emotional bonds, and it can even be a potential indicator of our neurological health. It's doing a lot of work! Which really leaves us with this final thought. The next time you feel that deep inhale and big jaw stretch coming on, just take a second and think about what might really be happening. Are you just sleepy? Or is your brain's ancient, complex social and cooling system just kicking into high gear? Thanks for tuning in.